Hi everyone, Chris Yoke of Yoke Pen Company. I'm here today to do an addendum to my previous pen holder reviews. As you know, I've already posted here on my YouTube channel a review of manufactured pen holders that are mass produced. Got some new ones to add to the lineup of mass produced holders here, and I'm going to go through them real quick. Take a look at each one and see the good, the bad, and all of that. So we will start by telling you what we got here. Over here to the left is a new series by Neal Bookseller. They're, I believe, called their Deluxe. I should have written that down before I started. But these are a new segmented type holder. These are priced at $40. They're like $39.99, something like that. And then over here we have a couple different things. We've got the Turn series from Paper and Ink Arts. They have different names like Colonial, Deco, etc., etc. Obliques, and these are in the $25 to $28 range, something like that. And then lastly we have the Dynamic Duo, I believe it's called. It's a dual pen holder, a straight and an oblique, priced at like $40. So we'll start over here. I'll scoot these over to the side for a second. Before I do that, actually, I do want to do one thing. I'm going to give you visual reference here. What I'm putting in here, this is a Century, which everyone knows, and I'm also going to put in, where's it at? The plastic speedball, so you get an idea of size. So size-wise, these are all very similar, especially over here. These are a similar grip. It's just the grip placement is further towards the foot of the pen. As you can see, the tip where your fingers will rest is way up here. So nothing, that's just a preference, and I wanted to give you a visual reference to the size. Okay, we will start with the Neal since they're on the left. These are rosewood, and looks like an acrylic or a plastic, along with a faux ivory. Yeah, that's a faux ivory because it just has lines in it. Actual ivory has intersections. I assumed it wasn't actual ivory. They are, I'm assuming, made by the same company which makes their other turned wood series, which I have here, because let me get them all out here. These are all their other, these were the turned wood series that recently came out from Neal. The foot, the flange angles, the flange construction, and everything is identical, so I assume they're a Chinese made, like these are, holder, mass produced. As far as the flanges themselves, flanges are fine. They're a Zenarian style mounting with where they slide in and out. One thing about all of the Zenarian style is these are a little bit different. As you can see, let me get a better picture. There you go. You can see it's not just a flap pushed over, it's actually triangular, so it helps hold it in a little bit better without a shim. You can remove it, but you can also get it in there. The geometry is correct, whether you use a Nico G, which is a really long nib, popular G nib. You can see you can line it up with center axis very easily, as well as a shorter nib. I believe this is like an Esterbrook 355, which is like the same length as like a Bra 66. So they will all line up. The geometry is correct. They're, like I said, $40, so for the price they're decent. The one downfall to this is something that I've received numerous debates about, and what that is the fact that you're mixing a man-made acrylic and a wood. And the reason that I don't like that, and I won't do it on my pens, is the fact that acrylic expands at a different rate than wood with temperature and humidity. So acrylic, most most mixtures of it, there's many out there, expand at about a 0.03% expansion and contraction rate, which means that it will expand and contract 0.03% larger than what it is from when you first turn the thing. Wood expands at an average rate of about 6%. So what that means is as temperature and humidity changes, the acrylic stays one size and the wood expands and contracts with the environment. And what happens when that expansion happens is every single glue joint where wood meets acrylic or an acrylic meets in a different material that expands at a different rate will actually, you've got it here, and this is expanding and contracting against the surface, which doesn't. So what that means is that eventually these glue joints are going to fail. And I just recently got these. These are brand new. I think I've had them for about a week and a half, and I've had them in my shop. So the humidity's not changed and the temperature hasn't changed because my wood storage is there and it's a very controlled environment. And what's happened already, just from coming from China to the US or coming from North Carolina, Indiana, whatever it may be, is within just a matter of weeks, I'll let you hear this, these have already developed a ridge. And what that ridge means is these are already expanding and contracting at different rates and starting to separate. It's not loose yet. It may take years for it to get loose. It may take many years for it to get loose. It's going to depend a lot on your environment. But I'll let you hear it's already developing ridges. I'll drag my thumbnail across it. And hopefully you can hear this. And those ridges are just what I said. It's that expansion and contraction differences, and that's why I don't mix the two materials. It's just bad engineering. And both of them are like that. This one's worse. All the way around. So you can see that at one time these were turned and they were completely level. Now they're not anymore. So at $40, I guess you can't complain a whole lot. You're not going to get a segmented holder any other way for $40. It's other than being mass produced in China or something like that. But it's bad engineering. You can hear, man, all these ledges. So that's the downfall of this. Function wise, right now it's fine. It just has the annoyance of the little ledges. That annoyance could just stay an annoyance for the rest of its life, or it could eventually just fall into pieces. You can see that they've turned a tenon, looks like what basically a part of this tail and the foot is turned, and there's a piece sticking out and it's drilled through and it's stuck in there about that far. So the wood itself is attached to this section, and these will probably float there, before this gives out, but still the wood's all expanding and contracting. So all of this is shifting at different rates. It's just not good. So if you want a pretty holder for $40, there you go, and they function perfectly well. If you want them to last a really long time, not probably your best option. But they're pretty. They got the different rings and colors and everything to them. So there's the two new ones from John Neal. And we will get into the ones from Paper and Ink Arts, and I'll start with just the plain obliques. These are made in Nashville, Tennessee by a guy. They're solid cherry, one-piece wood. They're done with a friction polish finish, which is a shellac, basically wax mixture. That's what I do on my budget pens, is a friction polish. The downfall to doing a friction polish is eventually you may have to put a new coat of wax on it, which is a minor thing, not a big deal, but it also gets it into a lower price point because you're not having to do a painted finish or what have you. So the geometry on all the flanges are correct, so that's great. They're close into the pin body like I like them. They're also done in a Zenarian's type style, and which means they can come apart and you put them back in there. If it gets to a point where it's loosening up, you just take a toothpick, shove it in there, break it off. That'll help hold it in place. As far as the price, like I said, these are in the $24 to $28 range, somewhere in there. They each have a different name depending on their shape. All handmade by one guy. So great little budget holder. I see this as the replacement for the Century, since the Century's kind of no longer available for the most part, and don't know when it's going to be available again, if ever. Not sure. So with it being at the same size and everything as the Century, and also a little bit nicer turnings and everything like the Century had, I see this as the new alternative. It's a little bit more expensive than the Century was, but, and quite honestly, I have no idea how the guy was making these pens at that price point. There's no way. There's no way I could ever do it. This I could see, you know, if you're set up for mass producing and duplicating shapes, that the $25 range, that's doable. So very fair price, great little next step up from, if you're going from something like the plastic speedball, which is just something to get you started in it. You now got a metal flange. It's adjustable. It's at a good price. Should last quite a while. So there you have it. That's they all have different names. The Deco, the Colonial, the new hand-turned wood series from Paper and Ink Arts. Okay, next we're going to be dealing with the Dynamic Duo from Paper and Ink Arts, made by the same guy that makes their newer turned wood. It's, again, solid cherry, friction polish finish. Nib geometry is correct on the thing. Also a straight holder on this end. For an everyday user, I don't see this as a viable option for most people, but there is a place for it, so we'll get to that. The reason is the balance point is off on the thing. I'll try and balance it on a pen. As you can see, for the most part, I'm trying to balance on another pen. It's almost dead center. That's not really where you want your balance point on a pen, because that means this back end's going to be pulling a little bit heavier no matter which way you do it, especially on the straight end. I would be more inclined to get one of these and a normal straight holder if it's something I'm going to be using all the time. However, if I was, say, going to a workshop, a conference, or something like that, and I was going to be doing both pointed pen and broad edge styles, I could see this as a viable option. This would give you the ability to carry one pen on a plane, a smaller toolbox, a smaller kit, and have the option of both, ready at your fingertips. Be a great use for that. I could see myself doing that if I was going to be going to something where it required two different pen holders. And it would be something great at the workshop to get you started, and then once you got back home, get your balanced, better pen out and use it so that your writing is improved. This one is at like the $40 price range, so a fair price again, because you're doubling the work. Basically, you're putting two pens together in the center. Good little deal. So again, I would recommend it for like traveling, something like that. I think it's, let's get a length on it here. It's right at almost 7 inches, so fits in most little carry cases and things like that. So it's a good length for that. Again, it's a handmade by a guy in Nashville, so you're keeping the money in the U.S., especially if you're buying from in the U.S. So good little holder. And that is our new series that just came out. Like I said, you can get these deluxe holders at Neal Bookseller. You can get these turned woods from Paper and Ink Arts, as well as the Dynamic Duo. I'm going a little bit out of frame here, as well as the Dynamic Duo from Paper and Ink Arts. All good writing pens. I've now told you kind of the ups and downs of each. I hope that's helpful. And until next time, I'm going to continue doing this, as objectively as possible, giving honest opinions and everything. So, sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive. It is what it is. So, and I hope that's helpful in selecting a new pen holder. Thank you.